If you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Murray. Murray Lightburn. And that's it.
Okay.
Playing the Deers.
You just play triangle? Or?
Yeah, no, I sing and write and play guitar and stuff.
Welcome you guys to LA, finally.
Yeah, it's interesting being out here. I've never been to Los Angeles before, and I feel like I can't say LA yet. I have to say Los Angeles, you know.
Is that how Canadians always
sort of
say
like, no, it's just more like, it's kind of like, you know, like Mr. Smith instead of, you know, say his name is Roger Smith and you just say Rog. It's a bit of a culture shock for a guy like me, you know. I'm just a poor Negro from Brossard, Quebec. So coming out to Los Angeles, city of gold.
So is it like where you're from? Is it very rural or?
Not very rural. I mean, I grew up. I went to school in Brossard. Is the proper way to pronounce it. It's French, and I grew up there and went to school there and stuff. And then eventually, I was living downtown Montreal. So Brossard is more like a suburb of Montreal, just 15-minute ride over the bridge to the big city, the island. My mother talks weird, so and my dad talks weird. My whole family talks weird. We talk weird. We don't sound like we're from anywhere, you know. My parents are from Central America, and you wouldn't know it, really, from how they talk. My mother spent like almost a decade in England, and she, you know, totally changed her way of speaking. And I noticed anybody that moves there, they talk differently.
Very formal.
It's just, yeah, it's, you know what I mean? Because they adapt to how they speak over there. So I think that happened to my mother, and in a way sort of like, you know, affected how we speak in the family, you know? So, and my dad lived in New York for almost a decade. So he talks funny too. I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? So it's like my parents moved around a lot before they settled down in Canada. Okay. So it's like they established their way of speaking and never had an accent that made sense to anyone. Yeah. You know, and me growing up, you know, in such a multicultural area, like everybody talked weird and different, and nobody sounded like Canadian-y.
Growing up, did you always have a feeling that you wanted to be a musician, or was it just one of those things, like, did you feel like that was what you were meant to do?
I think it's strange because I've basically been involved with music my entire life. So it's, like I said, it was like it's written in the cosmos, you know. Like, there was no choice to, you know, like, there wasn't anywhere else for me to go.
Right.
Except do this. This is what I was put here to do. Everybody's put here to do something, you know.
What do you think, like, growing up when you were young, what influenced you most musically?
I think what really had an impact on me was probably U2. I mean, as embarrassing as that sounds, but when I first heard Unforgettable Fire, it was pretty heavy. And then I heard, like, Smith's The Queen Is Dead, and that also changed my life. So, but I think what really happened was that I just, I found, like, some Yiddish guitar in my house, in my parents' house in the basement, and, like, they had this little, underneath the stairs, there's, like, all this junk there. Tons of junk. Like, you could build a rocket ship with the junk that was in there. And in that junk, I found this beat-up guitar, and with no strings on it. And so I went out and I bought strings, and I found a little book that had chords in it, and I just learned to get my hands on the guitar and make some chords. And that was like the big turning point, I think, when I learned to get the guitar. Because before that, I had played drums, I'd played saxophone, I'd sung, played piano, you know, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing.
So just completely self-taught?
Not the piano. I took lessons when I was 8, and I still suck, like really badly. But it's just because I don't apply myself. It's like my report card my entire life is like Murray has the potential but doesn't apply himself. I'm like a seriously lazy when it comes to that sort of thing.
Is it lazy, or do you think you're more? It's hard to focus on one thing because you got so many other things that you want to do.
Pretty much, actually. It's probably a little bit of both. I do a lot of writing in my head, like tons of it. Like 90% of it is written in my head before I even touch an instrument. And then, like, because I find like when you touch an instrument, it kind of ruins it. You know, it's kind of like a friend of mine, this guy Adrian. He, you know, we used to joke around about like, you know, like art purists and this like, but like, you know, the whole non-corporate vibe, or like, you know, sellout vibe or whatever, and just like, well, it's like, yeah, it's just like, well, if you want to keep it pure, then don't make a record, you know, because once you make a record, then you're selling out. You know, it's like if you want to keep it pure, just make music in your head and just that's it. It's pure, you know. So, but there's you know that whole moment of like actually picking up an instrument and applying what's in your head to an instrument, and then later committing it to audio. And
so is it just the process where it just doesn't come out the way you hear it yourself? Is that the most difficult?
Honestly, I wish that somebody could invent plugs for your head so that all you have to do is this, and you can just like, that would be the future of music. If somebody invented that, plugs that go into the brain, and it like audio plugs or MIDI plugs or some shit.
I understand that some of the songs, especially on this album, you did an insane amount of takes on them in the studio.
Yeah, we did a lot of takes, but it wasn't like what people might think. I think maybe there's a bit of a misunderstanding. It's like,
it seems like the number's growing every time I read it in a different interview. Like it started at like maybe 200, then it's 400. Someone else said 500.
No, it's like each song has about 500 takes, and that includes not like the band playing the song 500 times. That would be like George playing his drum track, you know, 5 times, guitar tracks being done, you know, 12 times each guitar track,
yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I mean, and it adds up, and there's a lot of instruments on the record, you know. Some songs there is like 600, you know, different takes, including all the brass, all the vocals, all the percussion. It's a pretty huge record. There's a lot of stuff on there. It's kind of like, you know, like Poor Man Spiritualized, you know?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, speaking of spiritualized, the same kind of thing. You've kind of mastered like the whole atmospheric, dramatic sense in the music.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've kind of been picking it up all along, but it seems like with No Cities Left, it's just like, you hit it. It's there. It's like, every song can kind of twist you a different way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope so. But I mean, that's kind of what we were going for. And if you're getting it, that's great. But some people didn't get it. You know, some people thought it sounded like Gene.
I was going to mention that. I have no idea where they're coming from.
You know, it almost seemed personal. You know, like they just, you know, had it in for the band, or like maybe somebody was wolf-sad with that person one time, or maybe like it's just total I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like I heard Gene and I'm not a fan at all.
Yeah.
You know, and like in fact, it's like an insult that someone would compare us to Gene, because, you know, not that they suck, but it's just not my thing. You know, I was kind of disappointed by that, but whatever. I mean, I think maybe if our record didn't have wasn't distributed by Universal at that time in Canada, because the thing is I don't even know how they got that record, because the record wasn't even released in America, and none of us sent it to them, and somehow they got a hold of that record and decided to review it, and it's like nobody sent it to them.
I wonder if it's the old thing where someone's hyped it up so much they build it up in their own minds, and then they listen to it, and it just doesn't match what someone else has told them.
Well, I think maybe that was the case. I mean, journalists are weird like that, you know, reviewers and stuff. They're totally weird like that, you know. But at that moment, after that review, I officially stopped, like really, really stopped caring. Because it was kind of liberating, because it was just like, wow, this dude is so far off the map that I can almost laugh at this, even though it's like, you know, it hurts, but at the same time it's like, who cares? Like, I'm just going to write, and I'm not writing for anyone, you know, and we're just gonna make our ish, and we're not making it for anyone.
Yeah.
You know, we're just making it because it's coming from somewhere. And it certainly isn't coming from Gene.
I could say they're actually one of my favorite bands, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's cool. But it's like to read that review, it kind of knocks, it doesn't knock on you guys so much, it knocks on his credibility as a reviewer. It kind of goes back at him. And
yeah.
There's other reviews where, I think it must be difficult to do a review where you can't, or don't compare the band you're reviewing to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think like with reviews, it's weird. I kind of like, even people who like gush about the record, I can't, like, it makes me want to barf. So it works both ways, you know? It's like, there was one guy that reviewed our record, and I read the review, and I thought it was such an accurate review, and he was so totally dead on without me ever speaking or meeting this guy. It was on the first album, and how he referred to Heartless Romantic as a hero-esque breakdown. And it's like, wow, that is so fucking bang on, because that's exactly what I was going through. And ever since then, it's like, that's the reviewer that I've respected the most. It's like, if I read his reviews, I'll believe them. You know what I mean? Because he was totally right on the money. And, you know, whatever. And then, like, later on, we got into an argument when I finally met the guy and became friends with him. You know, we got into an argument about the Darkness and how I think they're shit and he thinks they're great. So
I agree. They're shit.
Yeah.
I have no clue what they're going for.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know exactly what they're going for, but it's just like, give me a break, you know.
It's like 1970 again.
Yeah, it's like, whatever. I mean, it's fun, whatever. It's good rock and roll, I suppose.
So I'm assuming that, and this is kind of based on some of the reviews, in my own interpretation, that, like, you've heard a ton of people say that Blur was a huge influence.
There was a period where I was into Blur, but I was more into Graham Coxon's guitar playing than anything. So
now you could care less about Blur.
Right now, like, yeah, I suppose everybody goes through their phases, you know? I mean, Blur, I mean, that's not to discount them. I mean, they are a truly great band. You know, like, people want to, they shit on them half the time, but it's not founded, you know? Like, they're a great band. And, well, they once were a really great band, and they've written some really great songs. They've also done a lot of crap, too. Like, The Great Escape is the worst record ever made. One of the worst records ever made. But, like, then you look at Park Life, or, like, you know, Modern Life, or,
13
is phenomenal.
Self-titled.
And Self-Titled, yeah. Like, those are great records. Like,
yeah.
they have a consistent, you know, way of making great music, you know?
Has it been a influence at all as far as, like, how to put an album together? Because it seems like a lot of the more recent ones that are really good, it's like they have, like, 2 or 3 really good songs that are real, I guess, commercial, and then the rest of it's kind of
trippy.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy, but it really fits in well with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, we're not, like, when we make a record, when we sit down and make a record, like, we're not, like, influenced by anything in particular. Like, some of my bigger influences are, like, books that I've read and films that I've seen, and
Can you name a few?
What?
Out of curiosity.
Well, I mean, I think like in a way subconsciously, the book Money influenced No Cities Left by Martin Amis. The book Money by Martin Amis. I'm a big Martin Amis fan. You know, I read like London Fields and Money, and I'm reading the new one, Yellow Dog, which isn't really grabbing me yet, but I'm fighting through it. Because I read a lot of mixed reviews about that book, but whatever. I had to follow it just because I follow these things. Maybe one day I'll stop reading them, but
it must be tough to read reviews for other things too and try to not apply what you've had experienced.
Yeah, it's frustrating reading like some of my friends' bands getting trashed by some reviewer who really doesn't get it at all, and just like, wow, this is the wrong person to review this record because they don't get it, And it's so frustrating because it's just like, wow, it's a great band, great record. Like, why are you trashing it?
Yeah.
So, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, I think in a way it's like, we're more inspired by that fish and like inspired by like art and like, and also really inspired by what's going on in the world, more than anything. Like, I mean, being like influenced like sonically and musically is for kids, but at the same time, it's like when you get older, you want to steal bits from other people because it's such a great bit, and a lot of the times we come back to Bowie, Floyd, or like when we play it, it's like, whoa, that sounds like Floyd, or whoa, that sounds like Bowie, or whoa, that sounds like, it's like, or I'm really want an Isaac Hayes vibe on this part, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, it's pretty it's pretty, like it's really, really, really broad.
Yeah.
It's like we just take a bunch of random things and
Almost
shake it
subconscious.
together. Yeah, and it's definitely more subconscious. So
Is it tough to, when you're writing music, to not think of your influences? Is it tough to like not be influenced by a band that you really like or have liked in the past? Like, even like with Blur, is it tough to write a song and maybe you write something and, damn, that sounds too much like them, I got to change it a bit?
Actually, I was writing a new song recently, and I played it for Natalia, and she mentioned that it sounded like a Blur song to her, and she knew that that would make me like upset. Not upset, but disappointed. And but she just said just the vocals, and the only reason why that is because it was in reference to a Blur song. I forgot which one, but what was funny was that I sang the song at like 4 a.m. or some ish, or 7 a.m, because I work through the night, right? And so I was singing in the middle of the night, so I had to sing really quietly into the microphone. And I think because of the style I had to sing it, well, not the style, but because of how I had to sing it into the microphone and be really quiet and stuff, it sounded like him. And I had a cold, and he sings kind of nasally, so it sort of turned out that way. But I think the one that bugs me the most is the Morrissey tag. I think that's something that now I'm totally subconsciously trying to get away from, even though I don't think I sound like him. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And it's not because I listen to a lot of his records. It's more like, because maybe it's the timbre of my voice. I don't know. I mean,
Maybe
like
the way you present the music.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody's voice has similar characteristics. I mean, it's not every single voice, like speaking voice, is original. It's like, when you call somebody, it's like, oh, you thought it was somebody else. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with singing,
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I also have some questions from some of the people like on the message board and some other people that listen to the show.
Right.
Get some of those before I miss them out. Someone wants to know I guess his initials, MP, says, where'd you get the 66 Jazzmaster?
Oh, I like that question. I'm a huge gearhead.
Hmm.
So, like I spent a long time looking for that guitar, and I started, looking on. First of all, I started in Montreal. Couldn't find ish of Montreal, and couldn't find a Jazzmaster anywhere in Montreal. So I had to expand my search. So I started with the internet, and I was looking on eBay and all these little internet sell shit, whatever, things. And then it got to the point where it's like I'm searching for this thing, and every single guitar on eBay was like what we call a Frankenstein job. Like they call it a 66 Jazzmaster, but it's like got some 72 neck, and they changed the tuning heads and the nut and all that crap, and
It evolved over time.
yeah, it's just like it's all this is mishmash of different parts, and it's not really a true guitar. So
So you're looking for like the original and the original shape?
yeah, I was looking for an all original like 60s Jazzmaster. And because when we were in the studio, I played a Jazzmaster a lot, and it was Martin's father's Jazzmaster, and he of course I fell in love with it, and I said, well, that's the guitar I want. So I went out and looked for it, and I found it finally in Toronto, at a place called 12th Fret, and bought it. That's the end of that.
What makes that one guitar different or unique?
It's the pickups, the neck, the body, everything. It's just like it's the oldness. It's
like
so authentic. Yeah, it's just so. There's a difference, man. Like between unless you're like in Nickelback and you just play PRS guitars, which are like just gross and disgusting guitars. But well, apparently they're amazing guitars, but not my style. I like vintage instruments, so there's something to be said for them, and we got to keep that tradition going.
It would be like sitting on stage with the heavy metal V guitar.
Yeah, exactly. So
Do you find that that you use different instruments in the studio to get different effects, like different kinds of guitars?
yeah,
Really?
obviously, yeah, we do that all the time. I mean, different guitars sound, they all sound different from each other. And I just recently got a Gibson Firebird, which is phenomenal and just howls like a mother.
And that probably explains, part of the 500 takes.
Yeah, and I also just got a Vox amplifier, which has also changed my sound a lot. And it's like, but it's totally like the Beatles used nothing but Vox for a long time.
Do you find the equipment influences how you write?
I find when I get a new piece of gear, yeah. I mean, I bought like a synth called Roland SH32, like a synth brain, and definitely like it's helping me shape the next record, even though I'm still searching for another vibe. Like I just want I need another instrument, like something else, just to like, it's like you can just write, but then like sometimes when you take what you wrote and apply it to some weird ass instrument, it just totally takes it to another level, which is, the cool thing that Radiohead does is that they do that, they'll write something that can easily be played at a campfire on acoustic guitar, and like take it, and in their recent records anyway, they'll take it and put it in another world by using some instrument, but they're serious gearheads.
Yeah.
Like
They can afford it too.
Well, yeah, they can afford it. Like I wish I can afford more gear, but I basically spend all my money on gear, pretty much. Like I have very little clothes. I just spend it all on equipment.
That's got to be like the point to get to where people are sending you stuff for free.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on that too, but I mean, the stuff that I want, it is special, so it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like, I mean, I'd love like a bunch of, a year's supply of guitar strings, but just because that's something that I use all the time and change all the time. But stuff that I want is really like exotic and particular, and you find them in some shitty little store on the side of the road somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like my grandma always told me I had like expensive tastes. And it kind of sounds like you're the same way, where you're very particular about what you want to use.
Very, very particular about what I want.
The ordinary is just
It
not
drives
gonna do
me
it.
insane.
No doubt. Another question here. Someone named Justin
Mm-hmm.
says, so you guys are touring now, but when you get back home
When we get back home,
in about 4 months,
we're going to be scrambling to pay our rent. And actually, no, when we get back home, we're going to an awards ceremony. And
the Canadian Awards, right?
yeah, it's called the Junos. It's basically like the Canadian version of the Grammys. It's pretty hilarious. Shania Twain, Nickelback, all those guys will be there. Avril Lavigne is
So there's
performing.
it sounds like there's like 5 or 10 Canadian artists that actually make a lot of money, say internationally, and they just throw them all together.
Yeah, which was funny when Conan O'Brien came to Toronto for 2 weeks. It's like they didn't represent, like, for their musical guests, they didn't represent Canada with anything cool whatsoever. It was like Bare Naked Ladies, Sarah McLachlan, Avril Lavigne, Nickelback. It's just like, okay, why don't you just perpetuate the uncoolness of Canada?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. It was pretty dark. I mean, but like when they could have gotten like cool bands like,
Yourselves.
Constantines and Stars, or Social Scene, or
Even someone like Hot Hot Heat, which would have been better than some of the others.
I think Hot Hot Heat have done Conan though. I mean, because they're big over here, right? So, whatever, man. It's just the way the ball bounces, as my grandma used to say.
I keep hearing a lot about the Canadian government actually doing quite a bit to help artists.
Yeah, they help out a lot, but it's a huge bureaucratic process. But once you're in and you establish a relationship with them, it's easy. So, but getting started with them is tough. Getting in there and establishing a relationship with them is really, really tough.
Is it hard to kind of prove yourself that you're actually an artist?
Sorta, yeah. I mean, you gotta be out there and you gotta be busting your ass, and we bust our ass. And, and all the bands that, go out there and they're doing their thing, they're usually pretty successful in getting help from the government. It's not huge help, but, a few $1,000s here and there definitely helps, finish a record or be out on the road, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the rest of that rent.
Yeah, so it comes in handy.
It's nice. I don't think you'd ever get anything like that here outside of unemployment.
Well, America's different, right? I mean, they have the same kind of vibe in Sweden where they eat, the government helps bands out over there, and, I think it's important because, music is so looked upon as a business, and doesn't have to be all the time.
Yeah.
It's like it's art, for Christ's sakes. It's like that's what it's supposed to be, but it's got so twisted up in money, and it's sad, because it's like you're always, as an artist, you're always underpaid because you work so hard, and people want to treat you like ish all the time.
Yeah.
They want to just, give you $50 and maybe some table scraps, and okay, go play me 3 hours of music, thanks. And then, or like, give me, 7 albums, and give me all the rights to your songs, and I'll give you,
1%.
I'll give you $40,000.
Can we go ahead and open it?
Yeah.
Maybe I should mention we're actually in your trailer.
Yeah.
People might wonder if they hear that in the background, the slamming and all that stuff.
Right.
Because we'll actually broadcast this on the air next week.
Oh, that's
It's
hilarious.
coming Tuesday. Another question here. Would you like to record a song in French someday, not counting... I don't even know if I want to try to pronounce this.
Pauvre chanteur de la rive sud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or maybe a cover of Gainsbourg or Brel.
I think we're a little bit beyond that now in our career. I think like Gainsbourg and Brel was a big influence on our first album, and that whole sherry drinking, Baudelaire reading vibe. But I think we're pretty much done with that. You know, I think we're just kind of just we're out there and we're just kind of doing something else.
No, go ahead. If you want to have a seat, go ahead.
No.
It's not a problem.
What's up, man? Is something wrong?
Just want to play some hockey, Mol.
Oh, dude, I fucked up. It's at the hotel.
Let me guess, PlayStation?
Oh, man. Well, yeah, PlayStation. That helps pass the time on the long rides.
No doubt.
We have, well, I mean, we're Canadian. We can't help it. We have hockey tournaments.
Would you guys think of that, the recent beating?
Oh, my God. Unbelievable, eh? Jesus. I don't know. Whatever, man. That's hockey for you. What do you expect?
I mean, it's like that's basically the only time we hear about hockey here in LA is when something like that happens.
Yeah.
Or the Kings are doing well.
Yeah.
So we rarely hear about things.
Well, you know, I mean, it's funny because, you know, Canadians are so nice to each other most of the time that they really let it loose when they play hockey. They're trying to kill each other.
Do the fans get the same way?
Oh yeah, it gets pretty nasty. Yeah. I'm a baseball man myself, though. I'm a huge Spos fan. Have been since I was a kid.
Praying they don't leave?
Well, that's, you know, they tell me that's inevitable, but they've been telling me that for about 10 years now. They've been trying to leave Montreal. And it's just like, you know, what's the point, you know? Like, why are you going to leave Montreal? It's the Spos, man.
Okay, next time I watch a game, there's like 50 people in the crowd. I'm going to expect one of them to be you.
Actually, last year there was a really heavy series with the Philadelphia Phillies that went to all 4 games. And we sat in the bleachers because we're bleacher bums. And, but like a bunch of us went to the games, and it was the greatest baseball experience of my life. I had no voice at the end of it, but I wasn't doing anything. I was like off for like a month. So we were just like, we weren't touring or doing anything. And so I hope that I'll be able to go to more games, and, you know, I'll be in town for the home opener. I'm psyched for that. So, whatever.
I have someone named Jew.
Someone named Jew?
J-U.
Like
J-U?
Probably
Okay.
Julie.
I thought it was like, okay, Jew.
This guy named Jew said, did you know you have such hardcore fans in Northern California?
Well, it's funny because we're in San Francisco. Is that Northern California, San Francisco?
Yeah.
Well, we're in San Francisco.
The city.
The city. And we were, and then we played Sacramento and Modesto, and these people came to all 3 shows, and they're from San Francisco. So yes, the answer to that question is yes, I'm aware that there are some hardcores.
It's like the first time you've been there, right?
Yeah, this is our first time. This is the longest I've spent in America since I was 8, when I lived at my aunt's place for the summer when I was a kid, you know, in Brooklyn. But this is the longest and the most extensive trip into America that probably all of us have ever been through. So it's interesting and weird and exciting.
Could be worse though, believe me.
Well, California is really like, man, it's like, it's another planet, man.
Yeah.
It's awesome and sometimes grim, but that's everywhere, you know? But it's like a different vibe altogether.
It's a country unto itself.
It's really like, I'm surprised you guys aren't trying to separate like Quebec.
Don't tell anybody. We don't let that stuff out, you know?
Yeah.
I had an interview with the band The Coral.
Oh, yeah.
They got stuck in Denver,
Yeah.
just outside Denver, in a camper like this for like, I guess 3 days in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't go outside.
Couldn't go outside?
They had nothing with them inside the camper.
Right.
No instruments, nothing. It was all outside, and they were just like, I want to go home.
Really, eh?
They were on the road for like a week or 2 weeks maybe, and they were just so depressed. So,
Yeah, well, when you hit the road, the first 2 weeks are hard. Once you get past that hump, though, it's like, whatever.
It seems like like when you go on a vacation, the first 2 weeks always go by pretty quickly, but you're actually, For you, it's actually a working trip. It's not vacation.
Yeah.
Per se.
I mean, I did go swimming today, and that was nice, and I got some sun. That was nice. But generally, though, I mean, like, it's yeah, you got to get over that hump. You know, we'd go out, like in Canada, we'd go out for 6 weeks at a time, and sometimes the weather is brutal.
It's gotta be a hard country to tour.
It's very, very hard country to tour. Because the way how it's laid out, it's not like you can make a circle. You got to go across and you got to come back. And where we live, we have to go to the Maritimes as well. So
It's cool. It's like almost makes me want to be in a band. Like, I got no talent, so my only talent is actually,
you don't want to be in a band.
Yeah, you say that now, but
No, you don't want to be in a band.
is it that bad?
It's not bad. It's just like it's just hard, man. It's hard work. People think that being in a band is all champagne and flashbulbs, but it's not.
They don't sit through the 500 takes and
Yeah.
all the hours on the road.
And the hours on the road, man. The hours on the road is what kills you the most.
what
But
makes
it's great. I mean, you become conditioned to it, right? So it's just like we like being on the road. We like playing every day if we can. If we can play every day, it's great.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, this tour is a little bit patchy, but I don't think that's what the future holds. I think the band is looking forward to playing every day. I remember there was this one, you know, we were doing this one tour and we didn't stop playing for days. We didn't even know what day. I still don't even know what day it is half the time.
You guys must have been really tight after that, though.
Well, it's just like when you're doing this kind of thing, it's like you really lose track of what day, unless you make a conscious effort. You're so self-absorbed and just doing this that you don't even know what day it is. Like you literally don't know what day it is, and sometimes you barely know what month it is.
I'm like that now. So I mean, what is a band? What really makes it worthwhile? What's the one thing, like, if it gets really difficult, what keeps you going?
What keeps me going, I can't speak for everybody, but what keeps me going is playing a great show. Great, like being, like playing a show, not just playing a great show, but like playing and when you can't remember how it went down. Like you're so drunk with like adrenaline and vibes and just like you don't know what the fuck happened, but you know it was great. Like kind of like sex.
Yeah, like a natural high.
Yeah. Kind of like sex.
And that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. When you're just dizzy.
Yeah.
When it's like a dizzying, like that's the only, it's like, you know, yeah, it's like, you know, drugs. Except, you know, I don't really do drugs anymore. I used to, but I can't touch the stuff anymore.
I got a theory. Maybe I can get your input.
So,
I'm looking at people like Richard Ashcroft
yeah.
and a few others I can't think of offhand. Amazing when he's on drugs. He goes clean and he just dies.
Yeah. I haven't touched drugs in 3 years.
Suede is another example. Like Brett Anderson. Amazing stuff. He's on heroin or whatever.
Yeah.
He cleans up and then it's like, who the hell is this?
Yeah. Well, the people say the same thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know? How he and Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton sucks. Well, he always sucked to me, but whatever. You know, people say the same thing about that, you know? I don't think it's like, I don't think like drugs and booze ever really made a difference in my writing, you know? Although sometimes I get a little inspired when I'm hammered, you know, that's fun.
Do you ever have anybody try to interview when they're hammered?
What's that?
Ever have an interviewer get hammered and try to interview you?
Well, last time I did an interview and I was totally wasted. And probably got myself into a whole lot of trouble, but, you know, who gives a shit?
Get arrested.
When people say you sound like Gene, who the hell cares what you have to say, you know? I don't think I was offensive to the point of making somebody cry or hang themselves. I think I was just, whatever, just being frank.
If the FBI pulls you over at the border on the way back into Canada.
I'm not worried about that.
We hear you're hiding Bin Laden.
Oh, God. Hiding Bin Laden. Where is Bin Laden, eh? Where the fuck is that clown?
I think he's in Canada.
Show himself.
Because he can't walk. Right? Isn't he like on some kind of life support or something?
Is he?
Yeah, like he's got bad kidneys or dialysis or something like that.
Wow, and he's like this mastermind?
Yeah, it's like one of those movies where you have like the science fiction movies where you have some guy in like a bubble, like all the tubes and stuff, and he like controls everybody.
I think he should just show his face. But whatever.